these boondoggles to countries like Nigeria and Colombia are just absurd. They're desperate attempts by the Sussexes essentially to cling to remnants of their former life that they rejected when they stepped back from royal service.
What do you mean by that?
And mouthpieces in America, like People magazine, for instance, they broadcast headlines that the Sussexes are off on official tour.
So that was a lie.
Well, there's nothing official about
going on holiday. And Lee is a US-based royal expert, a columnist for Fox News and the Daily Telegraph. And it is such a pleasure to have you here, Lee. But my goodness, what a shocking story. Prince Harry just last week said it was too dangerous for Meghan Markle to come to the UK. However, they're going to go to Colombia, one of the most dangerous countries in the world.
What?
What have you learned about this, Lee? What is going on?
Well, Dan, we just go from ridiculous to sublime with the Sussexes.
What do you mean by that?
And I mean, this is just amazing. Using safety and security as an excuse would be a reasonable excuse were it not for Harry electing to go to countries which are on the watch list of both US and UK. The US Department of State has issued a level 3 travel advisory for Colombia, recommending that US citizens actually reconsider their travel plans to that country.
Okay.
Due to crime and terrorism. And here are the points of the travel advisory that Harry and Meghan are electing to go to a country instead of his birth country, Britain. And the safety concerns include, in Colombia, violent crime, including homicide, assault, and armed robbery. And the U.S. State Department says that that is widespread.
Nice.
Other concerns outlined by the State Department include terrorist groups and criminal organizations who continue to operate and carry out attacks. Demonstrations occur regularly and become violent.
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
And then they give specific areas to avoid. Now, it's positively ludicrous that Harry has put up the excuse that they have concerns traveling to the UK for their security. And here they go, waltzing off to, they already waltzed off to Nigeria, which also has travel warnings. Fact. Similar to these.
Totally. And the thing is, right, what I love about their decisions is it proves that they are completely lying about their security fears. But he was doing it again last week with such egregious and purposefully emotional language.
What do you mean by that?
Designed to try and blame journalists and critics like me in the UK if anything, God forbid, were physically to happen to Meghan Markle. So let's just have a reminder of what he told ITV.
Okay.
So the fight falls to perhaps the only person with the persistence and financial firepower to pursue this through the civil courts.
I don't think there's anybody else in the world that is better suited and placed to be able to see this through than myself.
But he fears negative tabloid narratives endanger him and his family.
All it takes is one lone actor, one person who reads this stuff to act on what they have read.
Yeah, right.
And whether it's a knife or acid, whatever it is, and these are things that are a genuine concern for me. It's one of the reasons why I won't bring my wife back to this country.
I mean, Lee, you sort of have to laugh, but it's actually so sinister that he's already lining up the fact that if anything were ever to happen to them, maybe because of the risks that they're taking in terms of security, it would be negative tabloid narratives that were to blame, Lee.
Stop it. Get some help.
Indeed. I mean, these are bullying tactics, Dan. And might I say that as ridiculous as this whole security issue is, there are other reasons that these boondoggles to countries like Nigeria and Colombia are just absurd. They're desperate attempts by the Sussexes essentially to cling to remnants of their former life that they rejected when they stepped back from royal service. And mouthpieces in America, like People magazine, for instance, they broadcast headlines that the Sussexes are off on official tour. Well, there's nothing official about
going on holiday. There's
Exactly.
no difference to you or me going to Colombia. Okay, so this is really interesting, Lee. Let's be honest about what they're trying to do then. They are effectively trying to create some sort of alternative royal family based out of Montecito.
What?
And do you believe this narrative that it's actually because one day they hope to come back and take over the real British family?
Good question.
Well, I don't know about that. I think it's more likely, Dan, that they're just grasping for relevance and any mentions in the news. This is what they have to do to remain relevant. They had a wonderful situation when they were part of the royal family. They didn't have to work for any of their publicity.
Yeah, right.
Now that they've rejected those responsibilities and attacked Harry's family, they have to work. They have to sing for their supper and grasp for every opportunity. That's what this is. And I would encourage you to think back to another royal couple, a king who abdicated and married another American. Sadly, we don't have a good track record with members of the royal family marrying Americans, but I promise you there are worthy American women.
Yes, so you're referring to the Duke of Windsor and Wallis Simpson.
Of course I am. Sadly, your lot have not picked the right American women.
That doesn't make sense.
And having said that, the Duke and the Duchess of Windsor engaged in similar activities when the Duke abdicated the throne in 1936. Soon afterwards, they took a very ill-advised quasi-royal tour because the Duke was no longer king. Although he still was HRH, the Duke of Windsor, certainly. But, and they did it for the same reasons. He wanted to show his wife the royal treatment, even though she was never royal. And unlike Meghan, she was never even given a royal title. But that went over like a lead balloon.
Are you sure about that?
Countries keep on giving in to their madness, like Nigeria invited them, and now we see Colombia, the Colombian government, invite them.
Nice.
Well, it's very sad, but I believe that these countries do it for their own publicity because they're certainly going to be catapulted to the headlines in the United States and Britain and perhaps around the world when
Come on now, dog.
they see grinning Cheshire Cat images of Harry and Meghan with their nation's officials. And they're, let's face it, they're probably not going to make the headlines of the most important papers otherwise.
Just go home and go, oh, we've been victimized. So they go to the grocery store and they get back home, they're like, oh, we've been victimized. I mean, he asked what color skin the baby was going to be. Kate's daughter threw a temper tantrum. She's 3 years old and she threw a temper tantrum over.
What is he doing?
The dress. Is this actually how their brains work? Are they both this stupid and emotional? It really just fascinates me because I would just be so bored with this already. I'd be like, hey, honey, let's just go out and come home and not constantly
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Be chasing the press. At the very moment that they're saying that they hate the press, they are the ones that released the statement, essentially trying to evoke Princess Diana's death. Like, they love the press. They love the press. They love the victim attention. And they are understandably getting a backlash, but no backlash greater than what happened when their lawyer sent a legal letter to Backgrid USA. Backgrid USA essentially is a photo agency. They were the ones that sent out some paparazzi to get the shot of them, obviously. And they decided, just by themselves, Harry and Meghan, that they were owed all of the footage from the agency that was possibly shot. I don't know why they demanded this. Maybe because they're working on their next Netflix documentary installment, and whatever they were about to say, this photo agency was going to be able to debunk. Maybe that was going to be their next installment, how we almost died just like my mom. I don't know. These people are absolutely crazy. So anyways, they demanded the agency's footage of the chase.
Wait for it.
And they wrote this: "We hereby demand that Backgrid immediately provide us with copies of all photos, videos, and or films taken last night by the freelance photographers."
Here it comes.
After the couple left their event and over the next several hours. I'm sorry, what? Do people think this is how the world works? You can just hereby demand things? I hereby demand that Harry and Meghan release their Montecito mansion to me and my husband and my family. We will now be raising our kids in Montecito. I hereby demand. Actually sounds like the king's authority.
Oh my God!
Right? Hereby, from the king, by order of the crown. Well, Backgrid's lawyer did not like this. They rejected the justice's demand, but they really went far enough to say this in a letter. In America,
wait for it,
as I'm sure you know, property belongs to the owner of it. Third parties cannot just demand it be given to them, as perhaps kings can do. Perhaps you should sit down with your client and advise them that his English rules of royal prerogative to demand that the citizenry hand over their property to the crown were rejected by this country long ago. We stand by our founding fathers. I laughed out loud when I saw that. I stood up and I said, I pledge allegiance to the flag. I sang, I'm proud to be an American, USA, USA. I bought tickets to a Trump rally. I mean, this is such an epic response to these children, these psychodramatic children who keep casting themselves as the victim in their own movie. Yes, there are paparazzi at the events. Yes, the paparazzi are going to try to see if you're going to an after party. Every celebrity lives here. Beyonce, Jay-Z, they have their photos taken everywhere they go. Nobody turns it into a psychodramatic thriller.
That doesn't make sense.
Quite like these two. Everyone's tired of them. Please, Harry and Meghan, go to Canada. I feel like when the UK and America don't want something, we usually agree that it should go up into Canada. And there's no reason for you guys to be there. You guys hate paparazzi. Why are you living in California? Why are you attending events in New York City? Because you don't actually hate the paparazzi. You want attention, but you want attention